So if you watched my last video about gassy cultivars, well, maybe that far gassy into that like almost armpit realmish type of funk isn't for you. And maybe that's where you're looking for something that leans a little bit more towards that piney kind of earthy funk. So in this video, I'm going to go over some of the top piney or earthy type of cultivars that I've had over the 16 plus years of growing now. Stay tuned.
Like we always do about this time.
Now, if you're looking to grow some good genetics, you're definitely going to want to have some good equipment. And some of the best on the market to date is definitely going to be AC Infinity, who also is today's sponsor. Now, whether it be air control, air quality, lighting, or your tent itself, or the entire kit, AC Infinity has got you locked down, and they continue to innovate time after time again with just amazing products. Now, their products go very fast, well, because they're in high demand. Supply and demand is a real thing, and when you got a supply that's as great as this, you better jump on it quick. And when you do, make sure you use CLtv at checkout and you'll save some money on your order. Big shout out to AC Infinity, and let's get to the video. So none of these are in a particular order, but these are just four that I do have experience with in the past, that I've smoked, and that I've had the pleasure to grow. Now, depending on the breeder, of course, they can vary in the phenotype, but for the most part, these have been spot on when it comes to that pine every single time. So one that comes to mind right away is Strawberry Cough by Kyle Cushman. Now, depending on the phenotype that you got, it could lean a little bit more on the floral or sweet side, but the ones that I've had in the past and the ones that growers around me have had have leaned a lot heavier to that pine. Now, initially it's been mistaken for a Kush, I think maybe because it's a Cushman cultivar, but it's really one that does have that old school kind of piney, skunky funk, again, depending on the phenotype that you have, and depending on how you cure it and how you go about it. These are all variables that come into play with most things. There's no guarantee right away with any genetics, but the ones that I found definitely had that pine I was after. She was a fairly easy grower, definitely did better with some good training. The Cushman Chiropractics is a good suggestion, of course. Low stress training was very good for me. Topping seemed to slow it down a lot in veg, but overall this one for the smoke, it was worth it. Even if I had to wait longer, I wasn't tripping. The only reason she didn't make the cut and stay longer is really because it became so saturated in the Michigan market. And I feel like a lot of us who's been around growing for a while kind of get that grass is greener on the other side mentality, but man, hindsight, right? Hindsight. Now, another one that's old school that a lot of people still seem to find, and it still seems to hit those notes, coincidentally, is Blue Dream. Now, Blue Dream has a variety of different breeders, it seems. The original I haven't been able to trace down, but when it comes to pinene, this one was the highest one that I had at the time. Now, the effect was kind of cerebral with a little bit of that couch lock, but I feel like it really just depends on each person. Every cultivar is going to be different, and everybody's endocannabinoid system is going to be a little bit different. So how it reacts to different components of that cultivar may vary, of course. But when it comes to the flavor and the odor,
tarp skirt, tarp this, tarp that.
obviously, this one definitely was hitting towards that pine. Now, if you've had either of these cultivars, of course, in the past, they're old school. You may have had a different variation of it, and I totally get that. Drop it below in the comment section. It'd be cool to see how many actually have overlapping characteristics and experiences. The next one I'd say would be Super Sour Skunk. Now, this one, it varies in the phenotypes, of course, but the lineage definitely is going to be leaning towards that pine that you're after. Having the East Coast Sour Diesel background with a Super Skunk cross, Hortilab definitely found a good one here that just hit some of the marks in terms of overall production, old school kind of look, and definitely some of that skunky funk to it. Now, the phenotypes vary. I saw multiple phenotypes that were just very mild and didn't have a whole lot to them, and I saw others that were just hitters and really were hitting all the marks, other than maybe yield and overall THC. But again, that's commercial talk. When it comes to the overall effect and the quality, the Super Sour Skunk definitely was hitting. Very piney, skunky, musky in a sense, but definitely that old school herb that a lot of people are after. Now, of course, depending on the phenotype you have, it may vary, but I feel like all of the ones that I checked out, I can actually say I guarantee all the ones that I checked out definitely lean more on that pine than anything. And for me, it's definitely enjoyable, but you know, I'm more of a gas guy, so I wanted something that leaned a little bit more on that sour diesel. The next one on my list would be Pineapple Chunk. This wasn't Barney's Farm. Barney's Farm still seemed to lean a little bit more on that floral, a little bit on that sweet side, but the Pineapple Chunk that Trey and I had was definitely more on the piney end. Now, it was a good yielder, extremely resilient, nice big chunky buds, but it wasn't really my kind of smoke. But what it did have to it was a nice piney funk that over time, when it had a good cure, really hit. Now, in particular, when it was grown outdoor, that's when it hit the best. Those terps just shined. They came out very musky and funky and soily, definitely leaning more towards the pine than any sort of sweet pineapple funk that you may have assumed you'd get from a pineapple chunk or a pineapple train wreck or anything with the name pineapple.
I mean, there's no correlation, but maybe there is.
Now, again, this was one that probably could have still made the cut, and over time I look back and I wonder why I got rid of it, but it just wasn't anything too crazy. Old Faithful, of course, yielded very well, and it did have that pine, but there's better. And in my opinion, it's one that of course I lost, but I think I'm gonna have to get back here again soon. And that would be regulate. Now this one really hit all the marks. The reason I didn't keep it around honestly was just sheer ignorance.
Stupid as hell. It was stupid.
I thought that I was gonna get something better that was similar with comparable lineage, but it never came to be. I really think that when it came to the funk, this regulate almost hit on the gassy notes. It probably could have made the gas list, but it leaned more on the pine than anything in my opinion. Now, the phenotypes vary, of course, but the two that I had were definitely pungent, definitely tasty, and overall was just good smoke. Now with these, I feel like it was the nom-nom that it may have leaned a little bit more on, depending on who you'd ask, I guess, that phenotype, but it leaned on that pine that I was after more than any other cultivar that I had at the time. You may remember this video over on CLtv. We have a whole beginning to end, we'll say, and that one was one I just regret getting rid of. You probably heard a lot of my hindsight talk on different cultivars in the past that I had and I just let go, and this again is advice for newer growers or even growers who've been doing it for a while. Don't let some things slip. Keep a cut or reverse it and get your own beans, or maybe even look into tissue culture. But a lot of times if you really like something and you feel like the grass is greener on the other side, sometimes you just need to water it better, we'll say, or maybe nurture it more, really step back and appreciate it better. I feel like a lot of cultivars need more than one grow to get the best result. And sometimes it could take 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 to get exactly what you want from it. But if it's got some characteristics that you really like, do the work. I think that hunting more can be fun, but it's not always worth it in my opinion. And these are just a few of the ones that I've had in the past, and of course there's tons out there. If there's some more that you recommend that I should check out or that other grow me should check out, please do me a favor, drop them below in the comment section. And if you like videos like this also, please do me a favor and hit the like button. If you don't, dislike it, whatever, that's fine.
Look at you.
So with that being said, it's your boy Rob from CLtv. Stay lifted. Peace. Growers who are looking for that secret sauce usually are just missing something from their garden. And to help with that, we bring you the Stash Blend Premium Plant Additive. Stash Blend brings beneficial bacteria, silicon, seaweed, humic acid, and has enough macronutrition to help lower the dosages of your base feed too. Unleash your plant's true potential with Stash Blend Premium Plant Additive. Available at Growers House.